So excited to have you here, Barbara. So we are going to be introducing each other. I'm Laurie Barron, and this is Barbara Guillen. And we just wanted to have a little fun, support entrepreneurs, and get to know each other on what we do and who we are, and just kind of show our personality a little bit, and have an opportunity to understand who we're working with and who our potential clients could be. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to get to know Barbara a little bit. So I can start it out, and Barbara, you can tell us your background too. But Barbara Guillen here is a speaker and writer, and she has an amazing podcast and helps train writers on coursework, and just really excited to have the opportunity to get to know you more.
Same here.
Thanks.
Love this.
Thanks. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about what your services are and what you offer.
So I have transitioned a few times over the last several years. I was a teacher, and in 2021, I left that to do, I don't know what. I didn't really have a plan, but I've always loved writing. And I was having a conversation with a friend one day after this time, and she brought it up. She's like, you should do copywriting. And I don't even know if I've ever heard of that term, to be honest, at that time. So I looked into it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a fit for me. I love to write, and I love to improve writing whenever I see it. I'm not one of those people like catching all the spelling errors and like that, but I love to make writing punchy, and I love to make it powerful. So I looked into it, and I got contracts right away through a platform for freelance workers, kept doing that. And then I have transitioned into speaking. You mentioned my podcast. That was more of a passion project a couple of years ago. Just because I felt like I was consuming so much goodness, listening to podcasts and watching all these YouTube videos and reading and just getting all this good stuff that I felt like was piling up inside of me. And now I needed to share with others. So that's where the podcast started. And now I'm moving into training people on writing skills, because college graduates, I mean, you name it, people are just, that's not a strength. So I love it. I love doing it. And I want to help people just improve their writing and be confident in their writing abilities, because we're so digital now that it's kind of like an old lost skill in a lot of places. So
yeah, I think the best thing, it's not lost for me. It was never found. So I think that my mother's an English teacher, is a retired English teacher. So I've just never been a great writer. So I also love the diversification of skills, because what I'm not good at, somebody else is, and vice versa. So I really believe in sticking to your expertise and asking for help and when you need it, and supporting each other that way, because together it makes a better team. And you can tell as well, you're just a really positive person. So I love that about you. And it's not just like the skill that you have, but the energy that you exude, I think is really important. And I think that would make it really fun to work with you. So if you have like a work style that you want to share with us, like what would your style kind of be?
Okay. So by style, you mean...
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to like go with what the client needs or whatever you're writing for. But style wise, like, do you like to be a little bit more punchy? Or are you a little bit more formal? I guess it coincides with who your ideal client might be, but how, I guess it's a little bit of a vague question, but,
well, I mean, personally, I love humor. I love being casual. I love being just real. Like, I feel like that's why you and I clicked right away the way that we did, because we're just showing up as we are, right? There's no pretentiousness. So I stay away from anything too formal or too rigid, because I don't like being inside of a box at all. I love freedom and flexibility. And again, just being able to be real, like in the words that I use too. It's like, if it's not a common word that most people know or everybody knows, I avoid it. I don't like that kind of writing or that kind of style. So whenever I do take on a project, I just want to get a good feel for my client's personality and what their needs are, and then do my best to meet that. But if it goes kind of outside of the range of relaxed and casual and relatable, I tend to not take it on.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for, like exactly how you exude and how you prefer to work. Because I also think that when we're in our wheelhouse, we perform our best.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really good. Like if I'm forced to write very professional, it just takes me twice as long. I'm not as good at it, you know. So I love just kind of knowing what your good match is and what your style is, that you're well best
Hmm.
represented.
Yeah, that's a good question. Made me think.
Okay, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. As an entrepreneur, what do you wish you knew maybe 5 years ago that yeah, what do you wish you knew about 5 years ago, either about yourself or about your business that you wish you knew now?
To be honest, 5 years ago, I was still teaching full time. And so I never even considered the possibility of being an entrepreneur. Like I had zero clue, and I've had zero, well, I shouldn't say zero, but I don't have any examples in my family that I can think of that were entrepreneurs. So I just didn't know. And so I kind of like just found myself in entrepreneurship a few years ago. But
Yeah.
what I wish I would have known even then is that it is so not easy. What's that saying? Like
Yeah.
it's a marathon, not a sprint. Is that
Yep.
the same?
Yep.
You really have to self encourage, self motivate. You have to do a lot of things. You
Yeah.
have to put yourself out there. You have to make the connections. You have to stay at it and know that you're going to hit those dips, those valleys, those points of like, this is hard.
It's really hard.
Like, but then there's also those moments of celebration when you realize, like, I can actually make my own money
Yep.
and there's no limit to it.
So control. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I would just say, just kind of being prepared a little bit with
Mm.
expectations
Yeah.
of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, and
Yeah.
like it's never ending. You can
Think if you knew
never get
some
to,
of that, do you think if you knew some of that in the beginning though? So I guess that leads to my question too, like what made you make that transition? But had you known that in the beginning, maybe it would have changed your mind if somebody was like, this is really hard and you're going to have to do this and this and this and this, you know. Do you think that that would have changed your mind in the beginning and maybe you wouldn't have done it? I mean, we don't know, it's hindsight's 2020, but
just taking a
ignorance
shot
is
at like
bliss.
guessing. Yeah, I don't think so. Because for me, it was really a spiritual thing that I just felt too strongly to listen to anything
Yeah,
like that would deter me.
I love that.
So, yeah, my spirit was telling me it was time for a change. It was time to leave my career, regardless of like not having a steady, solid income anymore or my
Yeah.
retirement anymore. Like I walked away from those pieces of security that I don't have anymore. But it was so strong inside of my soul that I had to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything would have deterred me, really, to be honest.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that. I mean, deter and determined are probably hand in
Mm,
hand, right?
yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I think for me, my journey as an entrepreneur was a little bit more of an evolution. Like I didn't have an aha moment. There wasn't something that happened that made me decide I wanted to be an entrepreneur. There wasn't really the entrepreneur classes that they have now in school and things like that. So I just learned as I went. My undergraduate degree is accounting and computer information systems. And then I did accounting for 10 years and really learned the hard way that I dislike accounting. And I didn't get my CPA, but I worked, did the public accounting for a couple of years. And then I worked at the NCAA in college sports doing accounting. But I had a weird, because I've always been very left brain and tech oriented. So that aptitude was a lot greater than accounting and I was a lot more interested in it. But the NCAA at the time paid 100% of my graduate work. So that allowed me to further that computer brain side of me. And so I went and did HCI, which is a really cool I use the term loosely. It's a Master of Informatics and Human Computer Interaction.
Fancy, fancy.
Fancy. Yeah, it's really cool. HCI actually is a thing, but a lot of people don't know about it. It's very commonly kind of like the same thing as usability or user experience. And so we did a lot of psychology and interaction, and it was the melding between the hardcore developers and the users. So we were supposed to be like trained to figure out how to get those two components or people to speak. So yeah, it was really when all that usability was coming out in fact, I was the first class in that program. So
wow.
I'm aging myself, but it was really cool. And actually, I just recently moved and I found some books. And even though the images are really outdated about like a homepage and things like that, the context is exactly the same.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like human psychology, the way we see things, the way we read, the way we interact. It's still really relevant and pretty much the same. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Something can never change.
Yeah. So who would be your ideal client then? And I know that you have a couple target audiences based on, if you're going to be speaking or if you're writing for somebody or whatever. So, I know that you probably have several, but if you were to choose, one or two or differentiate between the two, who would be your ideal client?
Well, when I did a lot of copywriting, one of my favorite things to do was to write professional bios for people, because I love love learning about a person. And again, going back to that authenticity piece, like I want to make them real. I don't want to just make it sound good. I want to make it a real, true, accurate reflection of that person. Because when we read stuff, that's our first impression of a lot of people is just what we read, right? And so I love doing professional bios for small business owners, entrepreneurs, because now that I am one, I can relate a lot better.
Yeah.
And then for training, anybody in the corporate or the nonprofit world who they have to write emails, they have to write memos, they have to have all these written forms of communication that reflect them too. Yeah. And I want people to be confident in that. So employees of corporate and nonprofits, I would say, is my target audience right now, moving forward.
It's really hard. I still use my mother to help me write, especially if I have to do something a little bit more professional, like a bio. But it's so hard for us to step outside of ourselves and be like, what would somebody want to know about me? What would, going to be interesting to them? How do I sum up my entire life and experience and make it sound relatable? Or what are the key points that I want to get across? Do I want to be more what it's like to work with me, or is somebody, and this is part of knowing your target audience, which is also how we have to write for websites, or is it going to be credential based? I guess it depends on, like a lawyer or something might be.
Right. Yeah.
So being able to adjust your writing and style to fit that. And I could see that the most fun part of that is just getting to know the person.
Yeah, it always is. I have a fun questionnaire too that I do in addition to just setting up a short call with them to learn more about them and hear them too.
Yeah.
See what I get from that call. But you're right. It depends on the profession, the industry, because I have written bios for doctors and attorneys and people in the corporate industry who are, C-suite executives. And it's totally different than somebody who's a designer or, more free-spirited.
Yeah. And our branding, so kind of going into branding, that's like an individual brand in a way. And then how we have to write for websites also is we have to change that as well. We often hire copywriters to build our websites as well, but getting that personality across. And with websites, we have to switch it because it's not as much about the company. It's a lot about the user benefits. And so we have to make it more user centric to figure out like what the user wants, the benefits they get, what's going to make them convert. So like writing for conversions is a bit different than just being like, here's my services and this is what I do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Totally different. Yeah. So a lot of times when we're building sites and talking about brand voice and how do you want to resonate? Do you want to,
Hmm.
shock
Hmm.
value or whatever. So I think writing is, for me, is one of the hardest things. I'm not very good at it, so I certainly rely on the experts, but I can guide what needs to be done. It's just really hard to put together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think getting started is the hardest part for so many people too.
Yeah, yeah, it is really hard. What do you think are some common mistakes that you see a lot of your clients making?
When it comes to just
Um,
their copy,
yeah, well, I mean, I guess their copy or even in their business. I mean, not that you're like coaching their entire business or whatever, but
little things that I see.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the things I see are lack of consistency.
yeah,
So they'll be sporadic in just being visible because I don't know, it just gives more credibility when you're consistently showing up. Like you are always in business. It seems like when you are regularly showing up on whatever platform it is. And you never have to be on all the platforms, right? You can choose your favorite one or favorite two, but you don't have to be everywhere. I'm in multiple places because I like to. It
yeah,
comes easy for me.
yeah.
But consistency is a big one. And then I would also say like the quality of a lot of photos or images, just content that people put up a lot of times. I'm like, oh, that could be so much more vibrant or clear or compelling if they just tweaked this or that. So, you
Yeah,
know, I would say like it's worth either outsourcing if that's not your skill, if that's not your thing, because it reflects you, it reflects your business and the quality of your work and of you. So it's worth the investment. Or just taking some time and just learning a little bit on Canva. Canva has been so good to
totally.
me.
Yeah.
I and that's another skill that I learned just by jumping in and doing copy. And I learned, oh, I wanted to create affirmation cards. So I started writing
I
the
love
card,
that. Yeah.
and then I was like, well, I can't really, I'm not in a place to hire anybody. I think I can do this. So I started learning Canva. And before you know it, like, I mean, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'm
Do
pretty
it.
decent at
Do
graphic
it.
design.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Toot,
Yeah, do
toot.
it. I love it. Yeah, I saw your affirmations are really cute. Those are on Etsy, right?
Yep, they're on Etsy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So now, and then I went bananas. And then I like, I did so well with the first one that I created, I think 5 more after that. And then it just spiraled from there, a journal and then a devotional. And,
Yeah.
you just do, and then you just continue doing. So
So
that's the fun part.
I don't remember her name on Instagram, but there's a lady that has the funniest clip about like ADHD. And one of the things is like, your ADHD, and it's an overused. I'm not trying to pull a psychology, like I'm not an expert, like I'm not clinically ADHD or anything like that, but we all have tendencies, right? So, nor am I making a joke of ADHD for the record.
Let's clear the
Let me
air.
just clear the air on all of that. I'm not an expert. I'm not making fun of it. I'm making fun of myself probably. But it was hilarious because she did this like little thing, like you are when and it had to do with crafts. And so like you were saying, I got into Canva and I started doing this and I put it on Etsy. I get super obsessed and I will like buy every single supply that I think I need for this craft and do it for like months. And then I'll be like, how can I make money out of this? And then I might even try to sell it. I might go to like a farmer's market. I might put it on Etsy. I might do something. And then one day I'm just kind of like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I can't get rid of all these things.
Oh
Now
my
I have
gosh.
like this giant craft supply of like ribbons and paints and scrapbooking stuff, and it's all in storage right now. I mean, I've sewed dog collars, I've sewn headbands, I made magnets, I made greeting cards, I paint rocks. I'm like a master crafter, and I'm obsessed with it for a period of time. So it's kind of funny. Like it's kind of one of those like traits. Sorry, that was a little side note, but
No, you just reminded me that I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was a soap maker and a sugar scrub hand creator and a magnet maker and what is that called when you burn wood? I bought the kit. That's
oh my god,
hilarious because I
exactly
did
the same,
all
right?
of that and now it's just sitting in my she shed. I'm
Well, you
like,
can't get rid of it because you certainly might need it again for something, right? No,
right?
you can't get rid of crafts. I've had
No.
be like, why are you holding on to these? Why have you moved these 10 times? And I'm like, I can't get rid of them. Like, surely I'm going to use them for something when I retire
Get or
and
get bored, have a bored moment, have a
or have
moment.
a board moment. Yeah. In fact, speaking of my craft wall, like this was a COVID project. That's my cat Izzy.
So
Yeah,
cute.
it's
I
a little
love that.
cross stitch that I did. Actually, that one took about 3 or 4 months.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
thanks. Yeah.
That's
I mean, I just
amazing.
cross stitched it from a pattern that I bought. I didn't like create it or it's not an original design or anything, but
Still.
yeah, I get really obsessed and but crafting also is my downtime. It's my meditation. It's
Mm,
my I don't think about anything. I like to do it before I go to bed or when I'm done working for the day or just on the weekend when I get up to start my day, whatever. It's just really, it just winds me down and I just don't think about anything else. So that
I
actually
love
made me
that.
think of another question about entrepreneurs, because even though we do thrive on flexibility and freedom and being able to control our schedules and take time in the middle of the day to do whatever we want, we also work an inordinate amount of hours, right? So I've heard that entrepreneurs work 80 hours a week to avoid the 40, because I will not work a 40-hour job, corporate job again, but we often work more. However, we are human beings and structure is extremely important. So even though I like to think I'm just this like free spirit with no schedule and I'm all over the place, I actually have like a really defined structure. And so I guess one of my questions is not necessarily morning, but like what kind of structure have you incorporated in your life, or like any morning routines or any healthy habits or anything that you do that you're passionate about to start your day, or just get
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I do have a very consistent morning routine. I wake up at 5:45. I have that first hour, probably hour and a half, and I
Yeah.
stretch and I pray and I read my Bible and I do my devote. Like I do all the things in that first hour, hour and a half. And then, and I would say I'm a little loose, like with my whole structure, being structured, because it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard, especially when your list is long and you have so many tasks
Yeah.
and you're like, some of them seem of equal priority or deadline. And then it's just hard to know which one to start. So I do have a bad habit of having multiple things out and open at the same time, and then
Yeah.
just doing a little bit of this here and a little bit of that there. But I always get things done
Yeah.
somehow, some way. And what you mentioned at the beginning, just a few minutes ago, about working 80 hours versus 40. But I'm just happy. Like I'm just
Yeah.
happy with that I could do that I can work when
Yeah.
I want, how I want. Um, I write things down and I cross them off, and that's always satisfying. And it's
Pen and
important for me
paper.
to be
Pen
able
and
to see
paper.
that. Yeah, pen and
I love
paper.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I even
Wait,
have
do you have like sparkly pens on craft paper or just kidding. I'm
just
just kidding.
plain
Yeah.
a pen and paper.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Writing
If it
things
was
down
Betsy,
really
my
helps.
business partner, who's a graphic designer, she probably would have like sparkly pens. And I'm curious, she does write a lot down pen and paper. So I'd be curious what her, yeah.
Oh my God. I love note taking, and
Yeah.
that is my thing. Um, but yeah, I just kind of get things done as I need to, but I make sure that I always make time for myself. Like you and I met up for coffee just to
Totally.
hang out and get to know each
So
other and connect.
important.
That's so important. And that's part of being able to do what you do well.
Yeah.
Connecting with others, self-care. I walk every day.
Good. Me too.
I had to clear my throat.
Yeah.
I walk every day. Yeah, like I crave that. I work out like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And then I try to eat really well. Of course, sugar's my weakness. I don't know if you have that, but
It goes in phases. I just made cookies the other day because I played cards the other night and I brought cookies and now I'm stuck with cookies in my house. I'm okay when they're not there, but now I'm like having like 3 cookies a day.
oh, that's exactly what happens to me too.
Yeah. But
So,
I probably have a salt problem more. But yeah, I'm the same. I coach swimming and I still swim like 3 days a week. I coach swimming 2 days a week. And then I also coach another fitness program about 1 or 2 days a week. So that gets me up early, but I mean, my dog creates my routine also. So I live in an
Oh, yeah.
apartment. Yeah, I live in an apartment. I have no yard, so I have to get up and walk her first thing. And I actually really love that first morning walk. I have to let her out. So there's no yard. I can just let her out and be lazy. So, but I also recognize that it's really good for me. And then there's times in the middle of the day where, I'm super focused on something, but I'm like, I know I have to let her out. And then I don't take my phone. I walk around my neighborhood or whatever without a phone because I don't want to talk. I don't want to answer. I just literally smell the roses, look around. Thank goodness we live in San Diego because except for this time of year, it's really great. But for the most part, it's beautiful here. So fortunately, walking year round, we can do that really easily. So, yeah, I think walking is really important, and just working out, eating right, same. I think those are just all really good, healthy habits. And going to bed early. That's the other one. I go to bed like that is the one boundary that I have, is my bedtime. So I really am a stickler for like 9 o'clock, 9:30 maybe, and I get up early too, like 5, somewhere between 5 and 6, I guess. I think that's early for most people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think creating good routines is really important. And you have a family too, or for people that have families, I understand that balance is really hard. I mean, my family is my animals, and my friends, but making that time for yourself and your family is really most important to stay balanced. I agree, but that is definitely a challenge because so much falls on our shoulders with being entrepreneurs. So
Yeah, yeah, it does feel like the job never ends because even when you're not physically working, you're working in your mind. You're always getting new ideas and
always.
inspiration. And I think what I've really tried focusing on or trying to do better this year is just being present, like truly, truly not allowing myself to get too caught up in tomorrow and beyond. Just be here, right here, stay
Yeah.
focused. And my youngest is 15, so I'm really like, and at this age, it's hard to he's just doing his own thing, or he's not very talkative, so it's hard to like have that quality time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever I can do to just be around him
Connect.
is
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Aw. Yeah.
No,
So 15, that's a sophomore?
he will be. He's going into
A
10th
sophomore.
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know.
Um, yeah, that's crazy. So if there was one word that comes to mind to describe yourself, like just the first thing that comes to your brain, there's like a million things that you are. I totally get that. So like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind if I were to say, who are you?
Oh, first thing, I would say personable,
Oh, I love that.
even though that's kind of boring.
It's not boring.
I just love to be that. I just love for every person on earth to know, like, I love you and I want to talk to you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a connector too, and people are really important to me. Even my client relationships. And I think that the way that we at Pursu, Betsy and I, we really want the long-term relationships, and we try to portray that we're not just here for a sale, that we're really in this for the long run, that we want to be, a valued partner and create, a long-lasting relationship. And I
Mm-hmm.
can guarantee, and maybe this is the Midwest in me because I'm from Ohio, but I can guarantee I will know your kids' names, your pets' names, what vacations you have coming up, more than I
Oh,
will. Like even my neighborhood, I'm the person, the house that I just moved in, I was there not very long due to circumstances, but within maybe a week or two, I had neighbors that had been there for 30 years. Neighbor across the street, I don't know how long she had been there. And I was like, Kathy and Ed. And she's like, no, I don't know who they are. I'm like, well, we can all help watch your dog. And I like rallied. She had something unfortunately traumatic with a friend come up. And so she needed the community support.
oh,
And lo and behold, 8 months later, I like literally introduced people that had been there for 30 years to each other. And they were,
that is insane.
I know. And I'm like, maybe that's the Midwest in me. I mean, California people are wonderful too, but I'm just like very neighborly, and I really care about people. And yeah, so it was kind of fun. I don't think I'd really noticed it. But yeah, I know
Wow.
everybody's dogs, and Yeah. The kids
That's so
and
funny.
everything. Yeah.
I just can't believe they lived there that long and didn't know each other.
Yeah. I know. And they're
Wow.
texting me still now that I've left, it's like, yeah, it was really cute. But I just
I
really
love
like
that.
that. Yeah, I just think that you say hello and good morning, and eventually people will get to know you. It doesn't take a lot, which I think is the key,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You just be yourself
Yeah.
and be consistent.
So when I take walks, I always make sure to make eye contact with whoever I'm passing with. And so many people just won't even look. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I I don't
I'm like,
I don't know if it's a here thing a little bit because I do notice it here more than the Midwest. We used to joke that there's like an Ohio wave. So every car, every person, they like wave,
wow,
like
I
they're
love
always
that.
waving. Yeah, they're always waving. And so it's kind of become a little bit of a joke. And when I first moved out to California, I had my first dog. I'd never had a dog and I wanted a dog my entire life. And I was so proud to have my beautiful white German Shepherd Jasper. And every single morning I'd be like, good morning, hi, good morning. And I was like, maybe I'm too much for these people, but I refuse to say
Yeah.
I'm too much for anybody because that's just who I am,
Yeah.
And at first I was like, fine, like, don't say hi, And then I was like, no, I'm going to just keep being me. I'm just going to say hello every morning. These people are just probably not used to it or like, I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
but again, sure enough, it's like they eventually were like, oh, okay, hi. And then I'm getting invited for coffee. I'm like, we're helping each other with our pets. And literally, I mean, my walks, my ex-husband used to laugh because I'd go for like a 10-minute walk and come home like 2 hours later. And I'd be like, oh, I ran into so-and-so or our dogs played in the yard for whatever. And she made cookies and I had some cookies with her.
You're that
And
person.
I'm that person. Yeah, love it or hate it, I'm that person. And
Yeah.
I wonder maybe why I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't get that done, or like
Yeah.
why I'm working late at night. But that's also the flexibility that I want to have, those impromptu
Mm-hmm.
moments, because I think
Yeah.
that those are the kind of things that really make us all tick. I think that
Yeah.
working hard may be a virtue, but I also think that it shouldn't be at the expense of living. I think as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, we tend to burn too much sometimes. And so I think it's really important to remember society makes us do that and that we are humans and we need downtime and we need connection and we need naps. I can have a whole podcast, I think, on napping. I'm like a huge
Oh my
napper.
God. I
Are you a
love
napper?
naps.
I'm a
I love them. I mean, I only need a 10 to
Yeah.
15. That's it. And it just
Like, I
refreshes
feel
me.
bad for people that can't nap.
Yeah.
There's people that
No,
can't
I love
nap.
it.
And if I'm that tired, I listen to my body. And if I'm that tired, I literally, the second I put my head down, I'm out.
Do you fizzle out after a certain time of the
And
workday?
every day is kind of different. It depends on what I'm working on. I'm a pressure worker, so I do better under pressure. And maybe that's
Mm-hmm.
part of being an athlete my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just do better, like a competition thing or something. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do better under pressure. It really depends on the day. I mean, I do know that if I put in a crazy 15-hour day or something, I almost know not to do that because I'm the next day, I think I can keep that momentum. And then I'm like, I wake up and I'm like kaput.
You pay for that.
I
Yeah,
pay for it.
you're spent.
Yeah. But I'm so productive sometimes on those days that it's like, I want to just keep that mojo. So
I
sometimes
know.
I allow it, but then I know that I'm going to kind of pay for it the next day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a lot of consistency with that. And having a business partner too, I mean, Betsy and I hold each other accountable every day. So we are in constant contact. And I don't like somebody having to wait on me for something. So if before they can proceed. So like if I have that pressure, I want to get people what they need so that nobody's being held up by me.
Have you had a business partner from the beginning?
No, I was an independent contractor for a while. I mean, I did work corporate for a while too in accounting and then I transitioned to more of my computer aptitude and self-taught WordPress and then just got connected with some agencies and building those skills. Betsy and I actually met we don't really know when. somewhere between 12 and 15 years ago, maybe. I don't know. I think we said 10 years for a really long time. That was probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But we just really gelled together. And I think it's hard finding somebody with skills that complement you, but are opposite, with a different expertise that complement you, and also trust each other so much. She works just as hard. We both work equally hard. We don't have to be like, hey, did you do this or that? Like, there's so much trust that I trust how she deals with clients. We're very similar with our values. And I think having those similar values is key, of fairness, of how we treat people, what's important to us, things like that. So I think we've always had our love for German Shepherds and dogs in general. I extend my love to cats also. So I've got 2 of those rugrats around. And I'm surprised I haven't made some appearance. So like, if any ideal client of mine has to be understanding that my dog barks sometimes, and I think COVID probably helped with that transition of people, and then occasionally a cat butt kind of walks across the screen, or sometimes
they're so funny that way, right?
Oh my God. It's like they do it intentionally when you're on a call or on the computer. Like, literally, I have had my cat type things and hit enter. And I'm like,
that is so funny.
It's not like they know they're hitting enter, but I guess between 4 feet, it's likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty funny. So I like a team. I like collaboration. I think we're stronger together. I think that holding each other accountable and challenge each other, a division of work, it really helps having a partner. But I think it is a special thing that we have, and I think it's really hard to find. Yeah. So
I would think so.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a relationship, any relationship. You have to get along, you have to have each other's back, you have to trust each other, support each other. When one is down, the other one's got to pick up a little bit. And over the years, like me moving the last month or so was kind of a bitch. I mean, it was like, moving's so stressful. It was a lot. And I know that she had to pick up some slack. Also, moving, as an example, her husband is military, so she's had to move every 3 years.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how long, right? So I've also had to pick it up when she's been in the middle of a crazy move and he's on location somewhere. So she has to do all of it, or whatever the situation is. It's like, we're just there for each other. And we are each other's biggest cheerleader too, which really.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. So I think
that is a gift.
It is. Yeah. Aligning yourself with positive people and similar values, I think, is really important. And it takes a really long time to get to know somebody.
Yeah.
You have to go through things. I mean, it's just like a romantic relationship. You have to go through things together, and we've surely been through a lot together. And so yeah, she stuck with me.
Yep. That's the real test though, going through stuff. Like when things aren't going as planned, then what's the response like? So that's the test.
I think that is probably the biggest test.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think here. What else? I know we have just I
have questions for you.
Yeah, ask me some questions.
I want to make sure I do. First of all, I checked out your website. Well, I did that when we first met, and then I did it again just to remember and show my son. My son's like, she did that.
Oh, thanks.
I'm like, yep, yeah, that's my girl.
I'm cool and hip.
It is so amazing. And it's probably because it's my style. Like I love black, white, the fuchsia. Like I love your colors. I love your font. I love all the features. So I love that. But you did talk in the beginning about starting out. When did you realize you wanted to do specifically this?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit, I get bored quickly, and I'm an idea generator. And so I always want the control and power I didn't grow up being like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but knowing how I operate and how my brain functions, it definitely is the best for me. I don't feel confined being told that I have to be creative when I'm not feeling creative, or that I have to focus when I'm not in a state where I'm able to focus or whatever. So I think that over the years, I've really become like a jack of all trades. And I think that happens when you run your own business as well. So although I'm really grateful that I have an accounting background and I can run that part of the business, I'm like, what was your initial question that I digressed
Oh,
from?
when did you realize you wanted to be a web? Is your official title
Yeah,
web developer?
I'm a web developer. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm more the web developer. So Betsy really is the one that designed the entire website. So Betsy designs everything and then I put it together, make it functional.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah. And so it's, thanks. Yeah. We have a lot of fun with our brand and we call ourselves unicorns because I think
Uh-huh.
we are in some ways.
Oh, totally.
So yeah, we like to have a lot of fun with that. So it really has just been an evolution of, my skills and, I guess my desires. And Betsy and I have recently transitioned into a coaching program as well for more of
Yes.
yeah, like a do-it-yourself platform. So all of these worksheets and processes that we do with our clients that we build websites and brands for, we now have a coaching program to train to give you a website and train you how to build it yourself with our support, our tools, our process, our support. So it saves you a ton of time. A lot of times people try to do it themselves and they don't know what they don't know. Kind of like you were saying with images and stuff. You're like, how can somebody do that? It's like people don't know what they need to do or where to do it. And
Mhm.
yes, you can Google and you can do whatever, but it's like you're going to waste so much time. And you can't teach taste is not objective, right? It's subjective. So, right? Did I say that right? So,
Yeah, I
yes.
don't know,
Yeah.
but yes, I'll say yes, yes.
Good taste is subjective. So I think people don't what we might think is good or bad taste, somebody else might think otherwise, you know?
Right,
Or
right.
sometimes when you're not a graphic designer and you try to create something and it took you 3 hours to do it, you get to a point, it almost becomes psychologically like, this took me so long and it's better from where I started. I think it's finally great. And then if you were to like step back and look at it, or if a graphic designer were to come and look at it, they'd be like, the font's too large and the colors are off and it's blue and it's sending a cool tone. And, you know, and you're like, but I work so hard. It becomes personal, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think that yeah, I think it's just really hard to put it all together.
It is. And I love your group option, because your group coaching option, because
Thanks.
you're not only, well, you said saving a lot of time, but saving a lot of money too, right? To be able to put this together.
Yeah,
But then in a group setting, you always learn from others. You always get inspiration from others. You always
totally.
come out better just by being in community with
Yeah,
other people who are doing something similar. So
yeah.
I think there's just like so much power in the group coaching thing for your website,
Thank
web
you.
building. I'm not sure if I'm
Thanks.
saying that
Yeah,
right,
and
but
we're keeping it in small groups at a time. So I think that
I
that's
love that.
important too. So yeah, I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And it's so important for these businesses, for every business to have like again, a good impression out there by whatever you have that it represents you and your business. It's impactful.
Yeah,
It
totally.
matters.
Yay. Well, I want to thank you for spending time with me today. I know that we have to go. And
Yeah.
Barb, do you want to let everybody know how they can reach out to you?
Yeah. You guys can find me on Instagram, Barbara T. Guillen, or my website, barbaraguillen.com. Probably the best
And
place. Everything
how do
is
you spell Guillen, just for people?
G- yeah, Guillen. So on my website, I have everything: my podcast, my products, my speaking, like all the things are there. But
Yay.
this was fun. I
I
loved it.
know
Thank you,
it
Laura.
was so fun. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll be in touch and hopefully others will be in touch soon too.
Yep. All right.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.